Paul Chryst out at Wisconsin, man. This thing has been, an A-plus story for the last several days in the college football world. Was this the right move for Wisconsin, man?
It didn't feel right to me. I mean, you can find some ways to justify it, but this is a guy who he is Wisconsin to the crib. He was born there. He went to school there. His dad coached there. He played there. He was assistant coach. He's the head coach. And he had a good record. And, it's not like he was a bum or anything. And for him to be dismissed 5 games into a season just felt wrong to me. And I think it's a little bit kind of emblematic of where the sport is at this point. It's just like there's so much money out there and it's silly money. And I think there's panic and high stakes that go along with that drive decisions that they rub me the wrong way. They can afford $11 million payout because the Big Ten's getting ready to make more money than God. So, they can do these things. But I just thought that was a poor way to handle it. I would have given him certainly the rest of the season. I did not see it coming. Shocked me, Clint.
Well, what do you think? Is that the best job that's open right now, Coach? I mean, I know there's a handful of jobs that are out there that are open. Does that Wisconsin job immediately shoot to the top?
Yeah, I don't know. So many jobs are about fit, right? And who fits in that job. So, there are certain coaches out there that think Georgia Tech could be a gold mine because of where it is.
Atlanta.
And as you've heard me say, the best jobs in the country are ACC jobs with SEC players, right? So where can you get those, right? Where can you get those? Georgia Tech fits that bill, and to the right guy, which might not be a triple option guy, but to the right person right there in Atlanta, in that Mecca, it's a pretty good spot. And so, to certain guys, a fit is a fit, right? Wisconsin's a good fit. It was a good fit, but they let a guy go like middle of the season, which I never thought that would happen. I agree. But it's all about fit for coaches and what you think is a bad job, what everybody else thinks is a bad job is a good job for the right guy.
I guess my question, something to talk about is, for me, I just finished playing. And so when I see Wisconsin, I've always seen them as like a pretty respectable program. They've won games, been in New Year's Six bowl games. I've had friends that play there. And I feel like Wisconsin, it comes with some swagger. Obviously, they didn't get to the start they wanted to this year. But I never looked at them as I looked at Nebraska or Georgia Tech, like a teams that just weren't living up to the hype at all. I feel like Wisconsin's been a really solid program, put out a bunch of league guys. I feel like they've kind of met the metrics besides probably playing in the playoffs. And so to me, what is the new, what's the standard? What are they going for? What's realistic? And that's where it's crazy. They fired him because I'm like, y'all are doing a lot better than other teams. The other coaches have been getting fired. I get Nebraska firing, my man. I get Georgia Tech. They haven't winning games at all. But you guys have been winning and competing at the highest level, sometimes knocking off Ohio State in the last 4 or 5 years. So I just don't get what's the expectation now. Is it realistic?
I think that's a great question because I think there is some unrealistic expectation there. Spoiled, whatever the case may be, delusional. I don't know, but they've had a really long period of being good, occasionally real good. Sometimes get in the top 10, go to the Rose Bowl, which at Wisconsin, that's excellent. And if you think that's going to happen every year, all the time, I think you're deluding yourself a little bit. I look at what they're doing, and I had some people say, we're Wisconsin, we should be in the top 25 every year. There's about 6 teams in the last 5 years that have been top 25 every year. No more than that. And it's the usual suspects. We could name them all. So, are you setting yourself up to be Nebraska after you fired Frank Solich or Bo Pelini? Are you setting yourself up to be Auburn after you fired Gus Malzahn and now you're getting ready to fire Brian Harsin? Are you setting yourself up to be Texas after you fired Mac Brown or after you fired Tom Herman and the next guy hasn't been as good? So Jim Leonard, really highly respected, could work out well, but he better work out well because they're putting a lot on this.
I mean, that's got to be a hell of a gig. They're in the right side of that conference, right? I mean, the expectations. I'm one of those guys, path of least resistance, baby. I mean, if I can get that Big Ten money and I can play in that easy division, and all I got to do is go win the title, win the conference championship to get in that big dance. I'm a path of least resistance guy. I know that shocks you, Coach Sumlin. I know that surprises you right there. Hey, Pat, who are the top candidates, man? The list and the names that are floating around out there since the Nebraska job, since Frost was let go at Nebraska. I look at some of them and I'm just like, you got to be shitting me, man. There's no way that's literally the short list. Who are the top candidates out there legitimately in that Wisconsin on the Wisconsin map?
Well, I think they do want to give Jim Leonard a legitimate shot at it. And, he's had some opportunities maybe to go elsewhere. He stayed. I think people viewed him coaching waiting sort of thing. And now, the wait was shorter maybe than we expected. So I think he gets a legitimate 7-week audition. If it doesn't work out, where do they go from there? Hey, Lance Leipold, who's killing it at Kansas, is a Wisconsin legend. All right. He's from the state. He won 6 D3 national championships in the state. So I think he would be an attractive guy there. Dave Dorn has had his name thrown around for a couple jobs for Nebraska and possibly for Wisconsin at North Carolina State. He's just done a consistently really good job at NC State. So, if Jim Leonard doesn't work out, they will not be hurting for candidates. The question is, can you get somebody who is as good as Paul Chryst?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting when you let one go that's averaging that many W's a year over a good sample size. It's tough to.
Let's just say what it is, right? When somebody gets let go this early in the season that has that much success, there's a plan in place, right? And Jim Leonard is the guy right now, right? They're going to give him an opportunity, but they don't want to pass up on what Pat just talked about. There are 2 other viable candidates, right? Depending on what happens at the end here, that they can sign up quickly to get back to Wisconsin, to have Wisconsin roots that understand the culture there. And it gets back to what I said, it's about fit. And all 3 of those guys fit, but they have a guy in house that's going to have an opportunity to show the fans and show the players if they can win at Wisconsin.
And I got a question. So maybe I can go real quick. It's just at Clemson, I had that similar experience. Well, that's kind of in the lineage of Coach Swinney when Bobby Bowden got fired. Not Bobby Bowden. Coach Bowden got fired. Coach Swinney took over mid-season, and he had a little window to win and prove as much to the Clemson family as he could to prove he could be the guy for next year. How many games do you think he has to win, or which games do you think he has to win to really win over the Wisconsin fan base?
Yeah, I think this also may have played a factor in the hire, I think, or the move. I'm sorry, the firing, and then subsequently the elevation of Jim Leonard is the schedule. They're giving Jim a kind of a soft launch here. It's 2 straight road games, but road games at Northwestern, at Michigan State, maybe the worst teams in the 2 respective divisions. Then you come home for Purdue and Maryland. Then you got Iowa at Iowa. This is where it gets interesting, I think, the last 3 weeks. If you get through those first 4, if you're 4-0, if you're 3-1,
you're rolling.
You're in pretty good shape. Yeah, right? Then at Iowa, which is a rival, at Nebraska, then the big rival game, Minnesota. So if he can get through there 5-2, I would not be surprised if he is the full-time coach shortly thereafter. But they will wait. I think they will let this thing play all the way out. If you lose the Paul Bunyan Axe game to Minnesota at the end, that wouldn't sit too well.
That's Pat Forde of Sports Illustrated, Darian Rencher, former Clemson running back, and Kevin Sumlin, former head coach in the SEC, Conference USA. Coach, I was doing a little digging. I didn't know you had 2 Conference USA Coaches of the Year and an SEC. I knew you was doing your thing up there. I didn't know you had 3 of them. No, Summy. Damn, come on now.
No, come on. Just trying to win some games, bro. And stay away from what we were just talking about right now, which I didn't stay away from, right?
Hey,
so
that's right.
Pat, to your point, if you look at that schedule right now, because I've been to a few Big Ten games, right? I think Maryland's a pretty good football team right now. The way they played Michigan, that to me, they're a problem, right? Purdue, Minnesota, who knows who Minnesota is right now after Purdue goes up there and beats them, right? And then you look at the rest of that schedule, like you said, Nebraska, I mean, they should walk off with Nebraska, right? Iowa is not going to score any points. We know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can stop them, you can kick a field goal and win the game. So I think the schedule is soft for him to be successful, and it's set up that way. And, call me crazy, but timing is kind of interesting to get rid. I think he wins the rest of his games.
Another point to that point, Kevin. Last year they started badly. They started 1-3, and then he turned it around. I wonder if they're thinking, "Oh, we're not giving him a chance to turn it around this time. We're going to give that chance now to Jim Leonhard." That's where that might be coming from.